Welcome to The Money Hour with host Tina Mitchell and co-host Keelan Harvey. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the following program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC. Now, in the studio, local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome to the Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, June 23rd show. I am your host, Tina Mitchell, and my co-host, Keelan Harvey. He's out fishing. It must be a guy thing. So I'm going to be flying solo here with my amazing guest in studio, bringing in expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events in our local economy and how it can affect your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we are here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And my lineup for the show today, Dan Faulkner with the Dan Faulkner Group. Does the full-service real estate professional still have a role in our current market? Next guest in studio, Kim Frazier with John L. Scott as well. How to successfully market your home for sale to get maximum exposure. And my last guest in studio, Mason Mackey with Pacific Northwest Insurance. The benefits of having an independent insurance agent. Great information and great guest in studio. For more information on any topics discussed today or topics you'd like to hear on a future show, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And let's start out today's show, just as I do each week, with a little money chat. Money. Today's Money Chat is Social Security and Medicare. Experts agree this year Social Security and Medicare trustees' reports were bad news. Signed into law in 1953, the U.S. Social Security program was designed at one time to be a key provider of income for Americans who reached retirement age. However, with an aging population, increasing lifespans, and the failure of many private pension systems, Social Security is growing part of the federal budget, accounting for a significant slice of the federal spending. Even with the tremendous outlay in the fund, Social Security is not enough to fully fund retirement. The average Social Security retirement benefit is just over $1,231 a month. You calculate those numbers out. It's not enough to cover a typical monthly expenses for many American households. Now, Medicare, a national health insurance program now administered by the Centers of Medical and Medicare Services of U.S. federal government, but began in 1966 under the Social Security Administration. United States Medicare is funded by the combination in payroll tax, premiums, and surtax from beneficiaries and general revenue. It provides health insurance for Americans age 65 or older who have worked and paid into the system through the payroll tax. It also provides health insurance to younger people, some with disability status as determined by the Social Security Administration. A pair of recent reports advanced projections from the depletion date of Medicare by 3 years, while forecasting that Social Security has funds to stay solvent for 8 years beyond that. But the timeline doesn't tell the whole story. While the threat to Medicare may be more intimate, analysts say that the crisis facing Social Security is likely more severe. The annual report released last week says that the Hospital Insurance Trust Fund, which provides the financing behind Medicare payments, will fall into the red in 2026, 3 years earlier than similar reports last projected. The Social Security Trust Fund, meanwhile, won't run out until 2034 under current law. But the Medicare shortfall would not result in a total implosion of payments, according to Centers of Medicare. While the Medicare Trust Fund is projected if insolvent, it will still have money to pay an estimated 91% of cost. Social Security shortfall, when it becomes insolvent, will be much larger. Around a quarter of payments would not be covered by payroll taxes that make up the bulk of the program's income. Now, both Social Security Trust Fund and Medicare's Hospital Trust Fund are financed primarily through payroll taxes, and because of the volatility of the structural factors, age, and the funds and different sizes of annual revenue and benefit payrolls, Social Security has a much larger built-up of money in its trust fund than Medicare does, which only has about the value of 8 months of payments in reserve. But Medicare shortfall is also relatively small compared to what Social Security would be if no action is taken. Now, a Medicare trust fund hasn't gone bankrupt in the last half a century and can't imagine that it will go bankrupt in the next half a century. But Social Security will be far much more challenging, especially as time goes on. Now, in the past, particularly at the point of the 1980s when Social Security trust funds nearly went bankrupt, Congress had acted to shore up the program, making cuts in the benefit, raising taxes. This time, it may not be quite that easy. Sort of some immediate action address, like in cutting benefits of raising the eligibility age, the financial structure behind Social Security may have to be completely revamped, which presents its own problems. It's so late in the game with respect to the court correction that the shortfalls of Social Security trust fund are such magnitude that window of opportunity may have passed. Now, Social Security program's cost exceeds the income in the year for the first time in 1982, forcing the program to dip into nearly $3 trillion trust funds of covered benefits. Now, this is 3 years sooner than expected a year ago, partly due to the lower economic growth projections, according to the latest annual report in the Trustee Social Security and Medicare released. The Social Security program costs are expected to exceed its income this year, making it the first time that it's happened since 1982 and forcing the U.S. government to dip into the retirement system trust to pay benefits and participants. Now, the program's trustees said that the shortfall trend could worsen in the decades to come. So because Social Security is the main source of income for older Americans, that scenario could crimp households' budgets for seniors and even push them into poverty. About 23% of older married couples rely on Social Security as their main source of income, according to the program. Now, President Donald Trump says that he will not cut Social Security or Medicare, but hasn't offered any rescue plan for the long term. Democrats want the expand to safety the net, spending more on health care and education. So I hope that your takeaway with my little bit of money chat went a little bit longer today, but this is an issue that we have to be looking and seeing what's going to happen moving forward. So the takeaway is really to save your money and think about your retirement and not rely on what's going to come through for you in Social Security. That's my money chat for today. Coming up next in the Money Hour, does your full service real estate professional still have a role on the current market? Dan Faulkner with Dan Faulkner Group right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Are you tired of wasting your hard-earned dollars on rent to pay off someone else's home and at the same time losing out on the tax benefits in the process? Kim Frazier with John L. Scott has assisted over 800 individuals and families just like yours in obtaining the dream of home ownership. Kim has been practicing real estate since 2002 and is recognized in the top 1% of all real estate brokers. Kim is well equipped to assist you whether you are a first-time buyer or a move-up buyer looking to achieve your real estate goals.
Hi, I'm Kim Frazier, and I would love to assist you with your real estate needs. Please feel free to call me at 425-209-5638, or you can find me online at KimberlyFrazier.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and Tina Mitchell, my co-host Keelan Harvey, which is not here. He's actually on a fishing trip this weekend, and so I'm going to be flying solo. We're your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW this Saturday, June 23rd, and it is a great day to talk money. The show, that's what the show is all about, how to make money, how to save money, and have a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing our show at a different time, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we are here to answer any questions or connect you with a guest that we have on the show today. Please feel free to call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, Dan Faulkner with the Dan Faulkner Group. Does the full-service real estate professional still have a role in our current market? Dan, thank you so much for coming back in studio. Happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me. It's been a while, I think.
It has been
3-4 years.
Yeah, well, we keep reaching out to you. It takes you a little while to get here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in so much. And a little bit about Dan. Born in Redmond, Dan is a native of the area, attending local schools, including the University of Washington, as well as experiencing all of the area he has to offer. has given Dan a unique perspective on the Eastside and Seattle. This breadth of knowledge of schools, parks, communities, and neighborhoods makes him able to tend to the needs of a very in-depth way. Graduating from the University of Washington in 2005, Dan initially had planned to go to law school. However, the real estate business pulled him in and started straight out of college. He's never looked back. His favorite part of being a real estate agent is building the relationships with his clients. For him, there's nothing better than seeing his clients grow into their home and truly getting to know them and their families. And that's what really real estate is all about, is building that relationship so that you can have that trust and that confidence, and building it in what you're going to take them through is the biggest purchase they're going to make in their entire life. So, Dan, I'm excited to talk to you today about a full-service real estate professional and what their role is in today's current market. So if somebody's saying the home's going to sell either way, someone may ask, why would you pay less to sell it?
Yeah. Valid question.
It is a valid question.
It is probably going to sell either way. And I'm the first one to tell that to a seller. And the question is, what is it going to sell for?
Yes.
And, if a full service professional realtor can't get more than what the discount is and then some, then we don't really have a role.
Yes.
And the fact is, it's really hard to make a living doing 1% listings. And they do have to cut corners doing that. I'm not here to throw anybody or any company under the bus or anything like that, but it's hard, and they have to make that up many times in volume. So you have agents who are doing 100 or 200 transactions a year, and it's harder for them to give that same level of service that a real professional would.
Yeah, and I always say discounted price equals discounted service. And if you think of anything else in any other type of business, I mean, you can use retail for an example. You have Nordstrom, you have a Target. So where you're going to buy your clothes, there is going to be a different in service. There's going to be a different in quality, and there's a lot of things. So something to consider when you're picking your real estate expert. Now,
and it's the same on the lending side too.
Yes,
I mean,
of
I always tell
course.
people that, hey, should I go with Quicken or should I go with someone like Tina? I'm like, well, if you want to avoid being in boxes the day before closing and getting a call from Quicken saying we need 2 more weeks, then I'd suggest you go with Tina. So
or we can't close the loan when you're a couple weeks away from closing. That's
a good one
big
too.
disaster as well. But so, what about the role of a full service professional pay? Can you talk a little bit about that, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to negotiating, marketing, and managing the process. I mean, oftentimes it's a rocky process. You want somebody experienced and knowledgeable to help you get through all those obstacles. Marketing, I mean, in today's day and age, and in this area, you need good photos, good web exposure, good print marketing, all that good stuff. You need a good negotiator, somebody who is truly not afraid to walk away from the deal, because you know that person's going to do a really good job for you.
So, Dan, with your clients, how are you able to get more profit and really be able to maximize on that profit for your sellers? What are some of your techniques and secrets?
Well, again, it's marketing, negotiating, and process. As a good example, a big mistake I see agents make sometimes is they won't do an offer review day. So typically we list, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, hold off on reviewing offers until the next week, and that allows everyone to come through and see the home. Well, I see agents potentially underprice the listing, and they don't do an offer review date. You get a full price offer on Friday, which sounds really good, except for the fact you could have gotten 10% more if you would have positioned it well and been more strategic and waited until the next week to review.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of it.
It's really, there's a lot of strategy behind it. There's a lot of structuring. There's a lot of time and a lot of knowledge and expertise to really be able to maximize profit, and how you're actually listing that and going through that profit as well is critically important. So, Dan, what about the difference in web reach? That's a hard one for me to say today, between a discounted broker and a full service broker?
There really is none. I mean, any broker can get you on any website. And the way that it works is you list in the MLS. That's the central hub of all listing data. That goes to Redfin. It goes to John L. Scott. It goes to Windermere. And so the playing field's pretty level when it comes to that. So the value of a pro kind of comes in other items besides that, because regardless of who you list with, you're going to get that exposure.
Yeah, and that's really good information because one of the discounted brokerages out there is a Redfin. And again, not to take anything away from one versus the other, we need both in our industry and anything that we do. But so a question may be, well, if Redfin's not listing my home, does that mean I'm not getting all of that exposure? Which the answer would
Great
be
question.
no, because yes.
You're still getting the exposure.
Yeah.
And a little fun fact about Zillow and Trulia, they don't share data with the MLS. So if you're a home buyer, looking on Zillow or Trulia isn't going to have all the most up-to-date information. We see that a lot as well. But again, as a pro, you can just take the extra step and get it listed on Zillow and Trulia to get even more exposure. Yeah,
and that's what really a full-service broker is doing, is making sure that you're having exposure in every single area that you can. That's one of the benefits of a full-service broker, is making sure covering all of those bases, correct?
No doubt.
Yeah. So, Dan, how much does the company brand or realtor matter?
In my opinion, I think you should go with the individual over the brand, and the rapport that you have with that particular realtor, how you feel they're going to do. The one exception to that comes with luxury listings, and actually John L. Scott and Windermere are the only local companies who have access to a luxury website called Luxury Portfolio. And it's the largest gathering of regional companies throughout the world, and has the most traffic, the most market share for marketing luxury listings. And again, the only two companies in this area, because we're the two big regional players, are Windermere and John L. Scott. So Coldwell Banker, for example, has their own international site. Remax has their own. The Luxury Portfolio is a huge asset for marketing luxury listings. Other than that, it really comes down to the individual more than the company.
Yeah, and I always say that when you're choosing someone to work with, you're trusting that companies are competitive in what they have to offer, and it really is the individual and what they're how they're structuring, putting things together. I mean, you have agents that are industry leaders that work for all the companies. I have them in studio, but the ones I bring into studio are the best of the best, and they're not all at John L. Scott or all at Windermere or Coldwell Banker Bain. So yeah, it's that individual and the one that you're really connecting with. What's critically important as your host of the Money Hour, which is about finding the best of the best experts in every area regarding your financing, is making sure you're finding the best of the best at those big brokers, and that's kind of what the show's about. So, Dan, what is the risk to listing with, let's say, a family member that just started at John L. Scott or Windermere or Coldwell Banker Bain? What's the risk of that?
Well, that's a big one. We get that a lot. Like, my niece just got their license. I kind of have to go with them. And I just say, be careful. Make sure, if they're new, make sure that they have some good mentorship and some good guidance. But I hear a lot of regrettable stories about situations like that. So I just say be careful.
Yeah. And we all had to start. I mean, I've been doing this for over 2 decades. I know you've been in it for, over a decade, our other guest as well. And so, we all started. We started somewhere. And if it weren't for our beginning clients giving us a chance, we wouldn't be here today. But I really love what you said. A good person, or somebody that's really strategizing, succeeding in the business is going to get connected with the mentor and have somebody that can help them walk through that process. So if you are working with that brand new agent, ask who their mentor is and maybe bring them into the meeting or something, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So Dan, neighbors, let's say, sold their home for $750,000, and I've got a listener that's saying, why don't I just list it for $800,000 because I know the market is increasing.
Makes sense.
So up it's $50,000. What would you say to that?
I would say right now in this type of a market where it is a seller's market, there's not a lot of inventories. The only way to screw up pricing is to overprice because we see homes sit all the time. If they're priced right or priced a little bit under market, they're going to sell and they're going to ultimately net you more money.
Yeah. So it's all about the price regardless of the market. And isn't it true as well, Dan, that in a market that's so crazy where we're seeing such appreciation so quickly, that overpricing is so much more common this market because people just think that, wow, I just need to list it what I think the maximum it could go for, which it totally destroys the negotiating. So let's talk about that. How do you find out if your realtor is a really amazing negotiator? Because it comes down to that on either side, whether you're wearing your hat for a seller as a listing broker or if you're wearing the hat as a selling broker. you have to be a good negotiator. So how does somebody figure out that their realtor has those skills?
It's a great question. I think it comes down to two things. And the first is, are they willing to give you bad news? Are they willing to tell you that, hey, you shouldn't price this at 800? I know this isn't what you want to hear, but I really think we should price at 750 and we'll end up at 800, but let's not start there. Are they willing to give you that news? The other is, do they seem confident and willing to walk away from the deal? I think that's really important. And if I was a consumer hiring a realtor, financial advisor, mortgage person, and be like, does this person seem like they absolutely need my business? Or are they okay if they don't get it? I think that's a big portion.
I was just going to ask you before you answered that. So would a good broker walk away from a seller that was not willing to listen to an advice of an opinion of what they should list their home for?
In some situations, yeah. I mean, I jokingly say, I'd rather give you the bad news now and have you list with someone else for 3 months and then call me later, as opposed, I don't want to be the one fired.
Exactly.
So,
you don't want to get hired to do something that you can't do at a great way. You don't want to be set up to fail. And I always, talk, I've got a coaching program, and I talk about leading from advice, not ask. Now, you can't tell a client what to do. They need to make their decision on what to do, but really leading from an advice standpoint of this is what we need to do to be successful and lay that out. And so I love that, Dan. So where is a great place to find that elite industry expert when it comes to a real estate broker?
I think a good place to start is ask friends and family for a good referral. And then I think as well, looking online and seeing if that person has good reviews. Do they have some sort of a presence online with clients saying things about them? And there's a common philosophy out there that sellers always feel like they should interview 3 realtors. And if you feel like you need to, that's great. But a lot of times it's like you really need to talk to 1 or 2, find someone you have a good rapport with. If you have good rapport with the first one and you feel really good with them, then I think you're squared away.
Yeah, love that. Well, Dan, thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
Coming back in studio. We'll get you back here again real soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. Coming up next on the Money Hour, how to successfully market your home for sale and get maximum exposure. Kim Frazier of John L. Scott, right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Are you tired of wasting your hard-earned dollars on rent to pay off someone else's home and at the same time losing out on the tax benefits in the process? Kim Frazier with John L. Scott has assisted over 800 individuals and families just like yours in obtaining the dream of home ownership. Kim has been practicing real estate since 2002 and is recognized in the top 1% of all real estate brokers. Kim is well equipped to assist you whether you are a first-time buyer or a move-up buyer looking to achieve your real estate goals.
Hi, I'm Kim Frazier, and I would love to assist you with your real estate needs. Please feel free to call me at 425-209-5638, or you can find me online at KimberlyFrazier.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. And down one, my co-host is fishing with his buddies and left me here with our guests. But I'm here, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, June 23rd show. We are here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and 1 show at a time. If you're listening to our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Kim Frazier of John L. Scott, how to successfully market your home for sale and get maximum exposure. Kim, thank you so much for coming back in studio.
Thank you for having me.
And a little bit about Kim. Kim has been a realtor for over 16 years and hangs her license at John L. Scott office in Bellevue. She has been consistently recognized for being in the top 1% of real estate brokers both locally and nationally. With Kim having sold over 1,000 homes in her career, she offers a wealth of experience and knowledge to help her clients navigate the most important purchase of their lives. Kim also is accredited staging professional as certified luxury home marketing specialist. If you are looking for a realtor with a proven track record of success, please reach out to Kim. You can reach her at 425-209-5638, or you can always call the show to get connected with her as well. And so, Kim, we're talking today about how to successfully market your home for sale to get maximum exposure. So why would you want to make sure that you take the time needed to interview agents?
Okay, so it's really important, as Dan kind of touched on a few minutes ago, about not only making sure they're a good fit, personality-wise, it's a stressful situation. You want to make sure that you have a good rapport with that agent, but we all invest differently into our listings. So like what he referenced, like a discount brokerage is not going to have probably the same deep pockets that a full service broker may have that is successful. We set aside more money out of each listing to be able to market the listings properly.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is you want to kind of see what is your standard. Now, what I do standard for all of my listings may be a stretch for someone who doesn't do a lot of luxury properties or higher end properties. When I used to do the same thing on all of my listings, so I'm replicating the same thing every single time. I'm not having to create it, because all of a sudden I have $1 million listing and I have to scramble to figure out what I'm going to do to market it properly.
Yeah. So it all, comes down to determining the net that you're wanting to make in that property, and that's going to have a lot to do with the investment into the property. So it makes total sense. So why is it important to ask for past client reviews before hiring an agent?
Because I think it's important. I think people can tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yes.
You want to be able to actually see some level of success that whether you're reaching out to them and having a phone conversation, email, text message to a past client that I've sold a house to, or you're reviewing me on Zillow and you're seeing a track record of success and happiness with clients. Every once in a while on Zillow, you'll get some crazy, like random, person. You're not going to make everybody happy. Every once in a while, you're going to get a review that is not consistent with your others.
Of course.
But I think when you're looking at someone, over promising or they're committing to something, I think it's important to make sure they're going to follow through before you even hire them.
Well, just like everything else that we do, the first thing we do now is we're looking at reviews before we're buying or making a decision on anything. Before we actually go eat at a restaurant, we're checking out the review to see. So it makes total sense. Why would it be any different when you're looking to hire a real estate expert? And as Dan also mentioned, it's not about the company. It's about the individual that you are actually hiring. So making sure that you know what their level of experience has been with their clients on their reviews. So why is it important to set up a marketing timeline?
Because I think expectations...
And what is a marketing timeline?
Yes. So basically a marketing timeline is going to lay out expectation, when things are going to release, when are we taking pictures, when are we doing photos, when is the sign going in the yard, when are we doing an open house, we're doing a broker's open. If we have overpriced the listing, and sometimes, like as Dan mentioned, ideally, we all want the listing at the end of the day. You wouldn't be at the appointment to begin with if you didn't want the listing. Sure. None of us want an overpriced listing. Sometimes you can get people within reason. I have clients occasionally that are just not reasonable, and sometimes it's whether you want to be the first agent or the second agent, like Dan mentioned. I'd rather be the second agent and be the one to sell it than the first agent who's invested thousands of dollars and it's futilely invested. So you want to make sure that you're kind of on the same page within reason, as long as they understand, if it hasn't sold in the first week or two, depending on which market you're in, whether you're in Snohomish, King, or Pierce County, your marketing strategy is going to be a little bit different. I was noticing this morning several homes that had price reductions in the South King County area. Yeah. So you have to be cautious. Even on the east side, people overprice 5 or 10%. The market's savvy, and things are slowing down a little bit more now than we were 6 months ago. So 6 months ago on the east side, you would have to go minimum 10 to 15% typically over list price to you basically secure you're going to get the house. Okay. Today it's like 1 to 3. 1 to 5% over. So I have 2 listings in Lakemont right now, and they both received 1 offer on the first review weekend. Priced them both well. But we had 70 people through an open house at my Lakemont listing, one of them, and we received 1 offer.
So what do you think it is right now that we're seeing? And it's kind of, it's like the market is not dying. It's just getting more to a normal, not so crazy.
Which is healthy.
But it is healthy, and it's nice. You kind of just take a step back and breathe a little bit to go, oh, well, that feels a little better, especially for you guys. What do you think is the reason for it getting a little bit more and less crazy market?
Well, I think interest rates obviously impact that, as you see on a daily basis. I think, having gone up over 1% in the last 6 months is definitely going to settle the market. I mean, granted, I bought my first house in 1990 and rates were 10%. I got it down to 9.5%, and I thought I was rich. I was like, yay, I'm saving so much money. Second one,
and now it's 4.5%.
Yeah, 7.75. So in reality,
sad.
You know what I mean? But people, they've had this norm for so long now, 8 years with 0% borrowing rates. As you had to, in a healthy economy, creep those rates up to have a balance. It's just a little sticker shock. I think millennials are probably going to face it a little bit more than people our age, just because we've seen like 8.3% was the 30-year average up until about 7 years ago. So anything below 6%, I think you're stealing money. But it's just going to take people a little while to adjust to that. So I think interest rates obviously impact purchase power. An addition of additional inventory. First quarter was very slow as far as inventory coming onto market. We had more buyers than we had inventory. People are kind of burned out on multiple offers, to be honest with you. They're sick and tired of losing 6 houses. They'll sit on the sidelines, wait for things to cool down a little bit before jumping in. So I think it's a combination of all three of those things. Plus, actually, seller greed. I think all of our sellers have a tendency to think, oh, well, my house is worth this much more and 10% more, and then it sits. And you're like, oh. And you try to advise them, but sometimes they just have to see it on their own.
Well, so a call to action for, buyer and seller. I mean, for a buyer, if you've been sitting on the fence, here's some exciting news that it is slowed down to where you're not having that craziness in multiple offers. And a call to action of the sellers, really, really work with an expert that's going to be able to help you price your home right to sell, and a great negotiator, as Dan mentioned as well. So, Kim, what are the first steps in getting your home ready to put it on the market?
Well, your presentation is always going to be key.
Okay.
And we've talked about that before in our staging, conversations and times I've been in on the show. Curb appeal is huge. Get your yard, looking good.
Yes.
Mulch in the, mulch, pressure wash. Make sure your gutters are clean. The facade of your house is clean. First impression is huge. Inside, declutter. Stage if necessary. And it can be light staging. It can be the extent of decluttering, hiding stuff, putting it away, not making your garage necessarily your storage unit. Get a pod, get it off site, not sitting in your driveway. You want to have good pictures, cars out of the driveway for your pictures. But just so it's clean. It's clean. It can be an expensive house. It can be an inexpensive house. But you just, whoever the buyer is at that price point, you just want it to be able to pop and just be appealing.
Yes.
So that would be the first step. And then, of course, once we're at that point, we're scheduling professional photography. Most good agents today, most of us schedule professional photographers. You're not seeing people out there with their iPhones. We do see them occasionally. Dan can attest to that. And I get a couple of calls. I've taken 2 expired listings this year. And they're like, here we had our listing with another agent. And I'm like, well, first, the pictures were horrible. I'm like, I'm not trying to be rude, but your house is like black in the pictures. Nobody's even going to want to see it.
Wow.
So I said, just getting better pictures will help. One of them sold in 2 days. We just got professional photography. Everything else the same. Somebody actually wanted to see it. It makes a big difference. So, getting that stage set for making sure it's going to appeal, to the largest audience. It's clean, presentable. Then I think the next step is getting the photographer in there. We also do like a 3D Matterport tour on all of our listings. So we've got the video tour. We've got aerial photography that we do now. Actually, on almost all of my listings, everything's got aerial drone photography, unless it's going to be a disservice with power lines or something crazy. Pretty much all of my houses, even just in a regular cookie cutter neighborhood, are getting Matterport too. So just getting all of those things in place to be able to hit the ground running.
Makes sense. So let's go back with staging and the importance of staging a home.
Absolutely. So it's important. People want to be able to see themselves in the property.
Yes.
Decluttering, taking down a lot of your own personal, pictures and things like that. I'm okay with a few. The more attractive the family, though, just kidding, the better. I went in Kenmore.
If they have Dan's eyes, then he can, he could be rocking his picture.
Yes, Dan has very handsome eyes, very nice eyes, ladies.
He's over there blushing.
First thing I saw, I was like,
we were talking about that before we came into the show. Yeah,
exactly. So if you're looking for a realtor with good eyes, call Dan. He's your guy. So
if you're looking for a beautiful woman, call Kim.
Yes, thank you. We're a good little pair here. Maybe we'll team up. So basically, I did have a listing recently in Kenmore, and my clients literally could be models. They're incredible. And I was like, okay, leave the pictures. They're fine. And one of the agents who saw it was like, a little much on the pictures there. I'm like, well, I thought they were nice. So we left them. So it was kind of a picture wall, and it would have looked weird without it. So we did. But for the most part, you want to declutter. You want things to be fresh, neutral, that kind of thing. Just so it appeals, and looks homey, lived in.
So let's talk about, you mentioned 3D and how you do that on all of your listings. Talk about the importance of that.
So one of the things, especially being in the East Side, we have a lot of transplants to our area, whether they're international or locally. I think it's important. The 3D tours these days, it's like Matterport 3D technology. So it's kind of like a video game where you can basically walk down hallways, walk in rooms, out of rooms. It's multi-floor, so you can kind of see how the whole house stacks together. I think for people relocating in or out of the area, it's kind of nice. It's a nice added feature, and it's pretty true, pretty accurate depiction of, wall sizes. Nothing's distorted, things like that. And so if people are looking from abroad or out of the area, they can get a better feel for what the listings are, especially
they can actually feel comfortable in actually purchasing the property without coming in and seeing it. Yeah.
And especially in a competitive market and stuff, sometimes it's hard for people. The house might be there for 3 or 4 days and they can't book a flight and get here. It's just one more thing, and we add our aerial to that, and then we host it all on a Tour Factory site. So it's very user-friendly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's important to have a wide range of marketing for your listings, and what avenues are you utilizing?
Well, we start with great, photography to start. So you want it to be appealing to the masses. Great, depending on price point too, you might actually have a video shot versus, like a moving video. If it's a several $1 million home, it's going to be a little bit. There are a couple things more that you can do than your typical, $500,000 to $750,000 house that we have access to. So that full color photography, good print material, so full color, full bleed, heavy cardstock on all of that. Sometimes 4-sided flyers if need be. Brokers open houses. Brokers opens are not horribly well attended in our area unless you bribe an agent to come. Most of us successful agents are busy.
You're busy, yeah.
So I whether I have lunch with them or not, I need to sell my clients' houses or find them houses to buy. So I wouldn't put too much stock in a broker's open, to be honest with you. I'm more worried about the open houses getting the people into the property for the seller.
Yeah, makes sense. So do you have any suggestions for reaching the international buyers?
Yeah. So one of the things that Dan touched on too is anything over $1 million in King County automatically goes on Luxury Portfolio International.
Okay.
And so it basically sweeps over to a company called GY, and that is basically Zillow in China. And so because it's the only thing they can get through the firewall. So anything that's on Luxury Portfolio International automatically gets swept to GY. What I've done recently is I've actually gotten an additional subscription to GY, and Dan might want to do this too. It's a pretty cool thing. Basically, I bought like a 50 set block of listings.
Okay.
So my 50 listings will actually have additional exposure, so I can upload more pictures to that listing of that listing and video and things like that. Because normally you only would get 4 pictures, where I can maximize on that and give the clients more exposure than typically you would if you didn't
Which
pay.
is a huge benefit, because 4 pictures really doesn't say much for the home, and especially if they're not having an opportunity to come see it.
Yeah. And so it's surprising. Probably less than like 2% of agents, maybe 1 or 2% actually do that.
Okay.
So I just started that about 6 months ago. And I think that's just one other, you never know where the buyer's coming from.
Yes.
So it's just one more thing that you can, put in your toolbox.
Yeah. Well, if you were to give a shout out to either a buyer or a seller, I mean, Kim, I know you have huge success in the business and you're just a firecracker. I mean, you've got so much on your plate and you do so much, and you're just, awesome at all of it. But, what advice would you give to my buyer or seller that's listening to the show today?
On a buyer's side, once again, as we've just said many times, make sure you're pre-qualified with a wonderful lender like Tina. It's super important. And those of us experienced agents in the business, it does make a difference of who you work with. I recently had a seller who unfortunately got to closing, and they had Quicken. No offense to anybody, but they had a Quicken loan prior to closing. All of a sudden, they got to the closing table and didn't realize they were being charged 2.375 in points, and wondered why their closing costs were twice as much.
With all the regulations, that's like surprising.
I'm sure it was probably disclosed up front, but
of course.
And I tried to offer other options, but he was like, "Oh no, I love my person there." Blah blah blah. And they'd refinanced with them before, so they got to closing, and they were like, "Why are it's a $350,000 loan? Why are my closing costs $16,000?"
Yeah.
I said, "Can you send me a copy of your estimated HUD or whatever it is? The closing disclosure. The closing disclosure. Yeah. They sent it to me, and I'm like, well, this is the first CD. Problem. Yes, your CD. So they sent it to me, and I'm like, it's the day before closing. There's nothing we could do. And I wish as an agent, I would have said, hey, send me that. But he was so happy. I'm never one to pull somebody away from where they want to be.
Of course.
But at the same time, I really probably just need to be a little bit more firm with that
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah.
Just so people know what industry standard is, and maybe if they want to pay more, they obviously can.
Well,
but I
on
don't think they
a
need
note
to.
on that, because that's really good, Kim, and on a note on that, and I'll give a plug for financing, because it's a big deal. Finding the right real estate agent to get the right property at the right price and all of that, as well as the financing goes in conjunction. But there are options when it comes to interest rate. You can get any interest rate you want, and I'll always show 5 options. You can pay 2 points, get this rate, all the way to paying no closing cost at all to option 5 or something in between. So it's really analyzing those numbers and seeing how long you plan on keeping the property, whether you think the interest rates are not going to go down or not, you're going to refinance. And so it's looking at all those options. But at the closing table, understanding and knowing that you've reviewed them all. So obviously there were not options reviewing, but that may have been the right one for them, depending on how long they plan on keeping the property. So Kim, thank you so much for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and look forward to having you back as well.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, the benefits of having an independent insurance agent, Mason Mackey with Pacific Northwest Insurance, right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Do you feel like you are overpaying for your insurance? Not sure if your coverages will protect you in the event of an accident? Mason Mackey with Pacific Northwest Insurance helps families like yours find the right insurance coverage at the best possible price. Mason has helped hundreds save money on their insurance needs while offering a superior level of service.
Hi, this is Mason with Pacific Northwest Insurance. To learn more about my practice, call me at 425-828-7877 or reach me online at pnorthwest.com. Again, that's 425-828-7877 or online at pnorthwest.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and my co-host, Keelan Harvey. He's out fishing with his buddies, but I'm here, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, June 23rd show, bringing in expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events in our local economy and how it will affect your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. Right now in studio, I have Mason Mackey with Pacific Northwest Insurance, and we're going to be discussing the benefits of having an independent insurance agent. Mason, thank you so much for joining me in studio.
Thanks for having me, Tina. Great to be here.
And a little bit about Mason. Mason was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and moved into the Seattle area about 3 years ago. The opportunity in Seattle is what drew him to the city, as well as trying to escape the 100-plus degree weather. I get that. Mason has been in the insurance industry for nearly 5 years, assisting people from all walks of life. He specializes in helping his clients identify their insurance needs and provide them with the right coverage to best fit their situation. Mason believes that honest, transparent communication is the key to providing his clients the smooth possible experience. He has a passion for helping people and strives to be most useful in everything when it comes insurance. So Mason, I'm excited to break it down on independent agent, what that means, the importance of homeowners insurance. And so let's start out with explaining to my listeners, what is an independent agent?
Sure, that's a great question, Tina. So an independent insurance agent typically represents a number of companies, so not just one company when it comes to a direct writer with a lot of companies that you might see on TV or anything in advertisements. And so the benefit of kind of having that is there's a number of different markets that I can represent to maybe help people find their best fit, or obviously price is important as well to kind of locate the best fit for their situation and whatever that is. So being an independent agent's been great. I love the opportunity and kind of ability to work with a number of different carriers.
Yeah, that sounds like a huge benefit, to be able to really shop around for the tailored plan that's going to work best for what your client's need is. Now, I talked a little bit about your background coming from hot Arizona here to the Seattle market, but what else? A little bit more about your background, Mason.
Sure. So I grew up in Phoenix. I've been in the insurance industry typically my whole life. My dad is in the insurance business as well, well, and so I've learned from a young age just all the different lingo and everything that comes with insurance, and so naturally I've kind of navigated to this line of work, and so yeah, I was with a direct writing company prior to this, and just really saw the opportunity with representing those multiple different companies, and so it's really been great kind of going forward for my career, and to just really best help people in any way that I can when it comes to their insurance.
That's great. So let's talk about the factors that form an insurance premium for an individual.
Right, and that's a great question as well. Many people might not honestly know that, and so when it comes to kind of forming an insurance premium for someone, there's a number of different factors that go into it, whether it's their zip code of where they live, their credit score is a big factor in the last number of years to help with premiums, as well as driving histories, important tickets, accidents, claims on their home, anything like that goes into it, as well as the length of their prior insurance that they've had, and so there's kind of a whole different aspect that goes into an insurance premium, but a lot of those good credit, clean record, no claims, that really helps drive the cost down for people looking for a good price on their insurance.
Mason, what about the claim from the house that they're buying? If that owner had claimed on that house, does that affect a new buyer that comes in as well?
That does not. So typically a claim follows the person. So whether it happened prior, at somewhere they were renting, a claim happened, that would unfortunately follow them to their new home that they're buying. But no, it does not affect someone's house that they might be purchasing from the previous owner.
And just so you know, in the mortgage arena, I mean, a lot of times your credit score is just where it needs to be to get that perfect interest rate. And when you're going to shop for homeowners insurance, you do a soft pull, correct, Mason?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't affect your credit score at all. So I thought I would chime that in. So Mason, what causes insurance rates to go up for certain companies?
Well, that's a great question as well, Tina. I've
got some awesome questions that I come up with.
You really do. I appreciate that. And so some people kind of wonder a lot of times why, after a few years with this company or something, I haven't had any tickets, no claims. What's the reason that my cost is going up for my insurance? And the reason for that being that we've seen a lot of companies in the last number of years have been on the rise as far as kind of the amount that they're paying out versus the amount that they're taking in. And so obviously when those factors start to not offset each other anymore, then companies do unfortunately take rate increases. And so cost of medical, cost of repairs for vehicles, homes has really been on the rise in the 2000s. And so we've seen a lot of companies that have lost billions of dollars, honestly, to their, then unfortunately kind of stuck in that situation where they have to raise the cost of their insurance. And so kind of tying back to the independent side, maybe a company, something like that might happen. Well, we've got a number of different options to then, look to maybe help lower that cost with a different company that we offer.
Makes sense. And understanding the why behind, I mean, that makes total sense. Understand if I had an insurance increase and there wasn't something better out there at another insurance carrier, the fact that the cost have gone up, obviously that has to be passed on to the consumer. Otherwise, we would have no insurance companies being able to stay in business to insure us. So
Absolutely.
The why makes a lot of sense. What about needing more insurance? Do you have clients that really should be having more insurance than what they have?
You bet. And a great product for that is an umbrella. A lot of people, homeowners, I always offer that to any homeowner that I see buying a home. And it kind of essentially gives you some extra liability coverage in increments of $1 million. And so anybody that owns a home might have some equity or some assets that they really need to protect their family if they were to get in a bad accident or someone injured on their property or anything like that wanted to come after them. The umbrella would help step in with lawsuit costs or anything like that,
Sure.
Subrogation, anything like that. So it's a great product that we offer. It's honestly $10 to $20 a month for another $1 million of liability coverage, and I always try to recommend that to anybody,
That would be
especially
crazy
homeowner.
that someone would not have that extra coverage for $10 to $20 a month.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
You bet.
So, Mason, how often do you advise your clients to call you up and kind of get a review of what's happening with their current policy?
Sure. I at least every couple years is a great opportunity. I mean, life changes along the way, and families and kids and all sorts of things. So I always recommend at least every couple years to kind of go over insurance needs, maybe assets, things have increased. You just never know. Businesses might have started a venture or something like that. And so it's a great opportunity to just kind of review that, make sure that the customers has some peace of mind knowing that every couple years their insurance is well taken care of.
Makes sense. So at least a couple years, and on those life changes. If you're getting married, you're having a baby, or any of those things are happening, it's probably a good indicator to pick up the phone and call your independent insurance agent and make sure you're still with the right company and you've got the best coverage.
Sure.
Makes total sense. So Mason, what types of business insurance are there?
Well, there's all types, anywhere from, so that's another great opportunity as well as for an independent agent is we represent the personal side of insurance as well as the business side. So if anyone has even a small business to, an office building with some personal property inside for desks, computers, anything, we have a business owner's package that kind of helps package all that together all the way to skyscrapers or anything in between. And so that's as well as a home-based business too. There's a lot of companies that we offer where you can endorse kind of on your home policy, an attachment to it to where you can, insure your home-based business all as part of your homeowner's policy. So the business side is we offer that as well from a wide range of anything for business owners out there.
Yeah, and my next guest, you and Dennis are going to have to pass business cards because as being doing taxes for accounting for businesses and insurance, just saying there's a lot of networking that happens behind the scenes in a studio
fit.
right here. Yes. So Mason, what separates you from the rest of the industry? I know that's why you're here in studio because I only bring the best of the best, but share with my listeners, why are you so unique?
Sure. So, you can always pick up the phone and call a 1-800 number that you see on TV or advertisements or anything. And so I kind of bring that next level of service that really kind of custom tailor insurance needs to people's situation and circumstances in life. And so that's kind of one thing I've learned from a young age is just service, friendliness. That whole to just always kind of take care of the customer, number one, and then the rest has taken care of itself from there, and as well as efficiency too. Being efficient, we just talked about the real estate market and how go it can be, and so the last thing you want to be worried about is insurance and how you're going to get that sorted out or have to call and be on hold or something like that. And so that's kind of where I can provide that next level of service.
And, I'm sure a lot of my listeners, they may be thinking that it would be really difficult to change insurance companies. And I have to say, speaking from experience, because as you know, Mason, we do a lot of business together. My clients come in and they're getting a mortgage and they all have insurance. Even if they're first-time home buyers, they're insuring their car or they have renter's insurance. And I always tell them, you've got to just get your information over to Mason, let them do a complimentary quote for you so you have something to compare with your current insurance carrier to make sure you've got the best coverage possible. And even though they've been with these insurance companies for a year, they're changing over and working with you. So, and they're right in the middle of a closing, meaning we're getting ready to close in less than 30 days. And so there's that sense of urgency as well, which typically people will go with the easiest route when they feel pressure of time. But, so it must be pretty darn easy to change insurance companies, right?
Absolutely. And like I said before, just that efficiency aspect that I bring to the table to really kind of help people make this as seamless of a process as possible. I know that some people might get stressed or worried about the thought or idea of kind of switching insurance, but that's where I come in to just make it as easy as possible. And obviously that's kind of why I have a job today, right? Is that, I provide that kind of, middleman to the company to just make this as easy of a process for people.
Yeah, and I have to say, Mason, just recently, one of my clients, and I've never seen this. I've been doing mortgages for over 2 decades, and I don't know that I've ever seen a binder come back that was insuring for less than the replacement value of the property based on what the appraisal said that would be. And so we called in a crisis. For whatever reason, they decided to stick with their original insurance company and not move over to yours, which is unusual because majority do. But then we had to get that last minute, and your insurance company was willing to insure it for replacement value. So can you talk about that? And is that becoming more common now with the fact that people are paying more than the appraised value is, or what's happening there?
Sure. So, as far as, people are kind of paying over asking price a lot for homes and things like that. And so loan amounts, can be higher than what they were expecting as far as the cost of the home. And so really from the insurance standpoint is where we look at the value of the home itself. So what would it take if this were to burn down? How much would it cost the insurance company to replace this for full value? And so, I mean, as well as a lot of policies that we have extensions over top of the coverage amount that you might have. So in the event something was to burn to the ground, there was nothing left, there's kind of some added coverage in there as well, 25 to 50% over the value that we have it insured, to just make sure that the client can fully rebuild their house, in the event of a total loss.
And that's another important thing in working with an independent insurance agent, because the idea that two companies had totally two different ideas of replacement value and their company would not insure for true replacement value. I mean, that was a big deal. So thanks for coming in and saving on that, Mason. So if I have somebody listening right now and they need to immediately get their insurance, let's say that they've got an issue just like I explained, because I'm sure that's happening, and they want to immediately change insurance companies, what do they do?
Call me. It's as simple as that. And so if
How
someone
do they reach you, Mason?
Sure. So if someone just gave me a call, 425-828-7877, you can reach me on email as well, mason@pnorthwest.com, and I will be on the ball and assure you that I will take care of the customer's needs first and foremost, and so that they don't have to worry about those crisis situations.
And also, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online to themoneyhour.com, and I'll definitely connect you with Mason. And Mason, thank you so much for coming in. I'm excited to have you back, and I want to, extend a great thanks again for all of the hand-holding and the special attention that you give to my own personal clients.
Absolutely,
really appreciate
Tina.
you.
It's an honor and a privilege. Thanks for having me.
This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Enjoy your Saturday and the rest of your weekend. I look forward to talking more money with you next Saturday right here on 1150 AM KKNW.
Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the preceding program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC.